It's the podcast coming up. We're taking a look at the top 20 prospects in the Detroit Tigers farm system. The Tigers have had an amazing start to the 2025 season, which is neatly following on the finish to 2024, which saw the Tigers leap into the playoffs and dispatch the Houston Astros in the wild card before falling to the Cleveland Guardians in the Divisional Round. The pipeline is full of talent. We'll look at what Scott Harris and company will have to work with over the next 3 seasons next. Now, here is your Sports Peninsula team.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is David Rudzinski-Drew, joined by Coach Andy Shield. We're talking all things state of Michigan sports, and today we're going to be focusing on the Tigers farm system as it stands right now, the top 20 prospects as we see it. Coach, how you doing?
Happy 4th of July weekend, Drew.
Yes, happy 4th of July to you as well.
We have a special guest here in the Sports Peninsula studios. With Barry Sanders, the Boston Terrier. He's joined. He's in the studio here, so you could hear from him chiming in a little bit there. He may have gotten into the intro there a little bit. We shall see. But yeah, this is fun. I mean, we have this great baseball team that, right now the best team in baseball record wise. We're running away with the AL Central. Running away with it. We have not been 100% healthy, and we have maintained this rise. Amazing job all around on all facets. By the way, we have the number 1 farm system in baseball still as well.
Still, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, that's right, Barry. So, we are really in a great position in a lot of different ways, Drew. We're in a great position to really fill in guys as, if free agency hits us a little bit and dings us a little bit, well, we have some ways to backfill there. We have some ways to improve the team from inside the organization. Right from Toledo, Erie, West Michigan, and Lakeland, and down through the Gulf Coast team and the Dominican State team. So we've got a lot of fortified talent that way. And we can enhance this team at the deadline by perhaps shopping some of these prospects for a player that could fortify that 5th World Series championship for the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because a lot of these guys, like the Riley Greens, the Torkelsons, Wenzel Perez, Dingler, Casey Mize, all these guys are up and contributing well a lot.
Cool.
There's a ton of them. Metals, we name it. They did a nice job drafting, and I'll give Al Avila credit. He did draft well. His undoing was glaring in how what he got in return on trades, and I needn't go and drag that through the mud again, and what he got in free agency, in terms of return on his investment, if you will, not real well, and that's what ultimately undid him. However, at the draft table, we see like a 9th round Tarek Skubal. Well, now he's knocking on the door of likely a 2nd Cy Young award, and he's going to be, and he's MVP candidate as well. So pretty damn good. Torkelson and Mize were top or first overall picks, kind of no-brainers. Riley Green was a nice selection. I believe he was a 5th overall or 3rd overall. One, I'm not, if I don't remember correctly, he was out of high school. But yeah, the Tiger they've drafted well.
Gary Carpenter, Cole Keith, Dylan Dingler.
They're getting these guys up, and they're getting them up rather relatively quickly, like within three years. That's outstanding. You don't expect that all the time in baseball. So you're right. They can trade from this prospect pool that we're going to look at here. Now, of course, we don't want to get rid of everybody, but like you said, if you can fortify this team with a couple stud veterans, that's the whole point. And then go back to the draft table or go get your international signings and start just recycling the farm system. It's what you got to do. Let's take a look at where you kind of touched on it a little bit, Coach. Take a look at where they are actually ranked. They are number 1 according to MLB, and according to Baseball America, they're number 2. Like you said, they have 5 prospects in the top 100. That's outstanding. And all the teams in the system are doing very well in terms of how they're playing this year, right, Coach?
That's absolutely how they are. I mean, the Mud Hens are kind of are kind of, him and Han a little bit there. But we've been going back and forth with a lot of players. We've been cycling through a lot of Toledo players here with the Tigers. So they have had to do a lot of shuffling through the back end there too. So they're still competing though. They're fifth in the International League West, and still over 500. But everybody else is in contention to win their division or their league outright. I mean, the Seawolves and Moon Mammoths are in second, but the Whitecaps and Flying Tigers are in first place and kind of running away. I think that the Whitecaps are, sort of running away with the Midwest League, at least their division for sure. So, things are looking really good down on the farm. A lot of talent to talk about. Some a little bit more in depth than others. And we really aren't going to even touch on all of them. There's some other really, really good prospects that are probably going to be in this top 20 soon. So this is it's an electric group, and we never saw this in the past. We were never a team that were remotely even in the top 10 usually in our farm system ranking.
You got to go to the late 70s. When those 80s, that 1980s Tigers team was formed, that was how that team was formed, through the draft.
And that's what we have here. I mean, the team that's here today. So we really have really struck gold here, through a rich few cycles here. So I mean, it just really feels like we're in a situation where we need some balance. Yes, we need to be very strict in evaluating because we are it's not, we can't take your time with this. We want to go for wins and win the whole thing. We're better now. Yes, let's compete for a World Series. Let's win it. Let's compete with Los Angeles on a talent basis and keep cycling it through. And also needing to be kind of that big player that's going to compete with the Dodgers and the Yankees and the teams that spend and make some trades of substance at the deadline and that kind of thing by spending some of these prospects as well.
Yeah, exactly, Coach. And before we jump into it, I want to give credit certainly to MLB and Baseball America, where a lot of our data was compiled, but it certainly helped you to get the rankings dialed in. But it's not just a one source thing here. You get a couple sources here, and that's how we do things here on the Sports Peninsula. We want to get the cumulative view of things because not everybody sees it the same way, of course. But Coach, let's jump into. Let's talk about the number 20 prospect in the farm system as far as you see.
Yeah, use an MLB pipeline or MLB.com/MILB and BaseballAmerica.com. Those are the two best talking heads when it comes to these things. This is what they do for a living, and they really provide us fans with great data to work from. And, it's kind of a cumulative look at things through both of their lenses and looking at this. But our number 20 prospect is Paul Wilson. He's a left-handed pitcher, 6'3", 205 pounder. He's now 20 years old. He's down in Lakeland, and he's not estimated to get up here until around 2028. So there's a lot of shelf existence and a lot of development that needs to take place for Paul Wilson yet. We did draft him in 2023 out of Lake Oswego, Oregon. He was a third-round selection, a high school arm. So that's something that we've seen a lot of since we've seen a change with Scott Harris, as we've seen them go after a lot more high school arms. You get a lot more mileage out of them. You get a lot more control out of them.
Yeah.
He's a I guess a blue blood to a certain degree. His dad is Trevor Wilson, who's a decade-long pitcher, Major League Baseball pitcher, and for several teams. So, he's got a good bloodline there, Drew.
Yeah.
He is out. He's got Tommy John. He's just had it. So we're talking about a guy that's going to be, that 2028 is very real because he's going to need some time to kind of rehabilitate and still develop. Likely, I am guessing, in West Michigan next year, the entire year, his age 21 year. And then we'll see where he's at in 2022, hopefully on schedule to be in Erie that year. But he's got that 3/4 arm angle, lefty, arm angle. That's kind of tricky and deceptive. You're not sure if you're getting breaking, sweeping, hooking, or if you're getting a fastball. And he can bring it into the mid 90s. So he's very deceptive with his release and his arm angle. And he's a pretty good young talent, Drew. Long ways away yet, but he's worth mentioning. I don't see him as a major trade asset just because of the injury and knowing that he's got to have some scheduled rehabilitation. But Drew, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's definitely someone to keep on the radar. You like his he's got pretty good size. He's got a strong arm. You like that he's a lefty with the 3/4 arm angle. He's got a lot going for him. I mean, can he start or will he be like a situational reliever? I think either way it would work, but let's get him over Tommy John surgery, and we'll hopefully be talking about him in another year and a half, talking about how he's looking, and then we go from there. But yeah, he's certainly an interesting prospect and someone to keep on the radar, no question.
And that's very fair. I don't even think there's a role pegged out for him yet, whether he would be considered a starter or a relief pitcher, a lefty relief pitcher. Both have great value within the organization. But yeah, I think that's going to be determined. That kind of niche where he is going to even have a role will be determined after the surgery.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Coach. Let's talk about our number 19 prospect.
Yeah, Drew, we got Michael Massie, 6'5", 230-pound right-handed pitcher. Age 22 year, out of Lakeland, Florida, which means, he's done some time in college. That's what, with that age and being down in Lakeland. And it's a lot more consolidated than it once was. We've got a few less minor league teams per organization. So Lakeland is kind of the first stop past rookie ball now these days. So he's down there at age 22. Estimated time of arrival is 2027, so a couple of years. He's out of Wake Forest, so he played some college baseball. Did our 19th prospect here, Michael Massie. He was a 4th-round pick a couple of years ago, 114th overall. He was a dominant relief pitcher out of the ACC, which is a great baseball conference.
Oh, yeah.
Great baseball conference. He has been shut down due to an undisclosed injury, and this just happened. We're talking about in the last 2-3 weeks that there has been a shutdown. But I have heard, I've done as much research as I can. It is not Tommy John. They would have come out and said it like that.
Well, that's good.
Correct. So whether it's some sort of shoulder issue, we shall see. But he's a righty. And he can crank it up a little bit. He's a little bit further in his development than Paul Wilson, and he's a couple years older. You can see that in his velocity. He's middle upper 90s with his fastball, and he's got a low mid 80s slider. So we're talking a 12 to 15 mile per hour variance. There's a lot of deception there. And when he really mechanically gets in his rhythm, he's going to be able to live off of a fastball slider combo. That's going to really be kind of the bread and butter of what he brings to the table, which is going to shoot him up in his trajectory and his promotional trajectory pretty quick, Drew. He's got to stay healthy. Yeah,
he does, and obviously you're thrilled if it's not Tommy John, but that doesn't mean he's out of the woods. You brought up drafting more high school arms, and the reason that's important, there's more of a gray area because you haven't seen him at a higher level than high school, and the lot can change between age 18 and age 20, obviously, in baseball especially. But at the same time, when colleges get a hold of prospects or players, they're playing them, and pitchers especially hear a lot about dead arms, and you really hope it's not the case here. I don't even want to speculate. I don't know anything about the injury, but that's when you say control. When the team controls the pitch count, the team controls how much work they're getting and gradually gets them worked up to. Look at Tarek Skubal as a prime example. he was even on a pitch count 2 years ago, and he even had the forearm issue, which was, was feared to be Tommy John, but it wasn't, obviously. And then now he's back stronger than ever. But to be able to cultivate and bring a guy along, a prospect along at your pace, is definitely an advantage. The flip side is you don't get to see a Michael Massie pitch, in the ACC and really pitch very well. I love his stuff. He's got think of Tommy Kahnle type stuff, but with that slider on top of it. That's nasty stuff. He's got reliever written on him, definitely a possible closer. But again, he's a long way from that. But he's got that kind of stuff, Coach.
Well, yeah, and one more thing on Michael Massie is, and pretty quick here, you're going to look no further on a guy that can really jumpstart his promotional cycle. A prolific college relief pitcher that definitely is shown to be a niche reliever and that has some swing and miss potential, throws with a fastball with high velocity, can get 12, 15 mile an hour differential on his spin and his breaking pitches. Change up. You're going to climb the ladder rather quickly. And if he can stay healthy and get this injury under control, this is a guy that is a name you're going to hear and know if you're a true Tiger fan relatively quickly here. And like I said, I think look no further than our 18th pick here, Drew. And that's a guy that has already made his major league debut, and that's Dylan Smith, 6'2", 180-pound right-handed pitcher. He is up on the Detroit Tigers, ladies and gentlemen, and I think he's still up. I don't think he has been optioned yet. He's been recalled or purchased and optioned and recalled once already.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to be kind of how it goes for Dylan Smith here, I think, for a year or so. But he made his major league debut back last month on June the 2nd. He is our 18th ranked prospect. We drafted him in the 3rd round, 74th overall, back in 2021 out of Alabama. I can remember that well. In his 7 appearances this year in Detroit, he's got a 1.38 ERA with an 80.85 WHIP.
Outstanding.
He's done a great job. He's done a great job. He had a 1.61 ERA at Erie and Toledo before his June 2nd call-up. So, he's been pitching phenomenally this year. Upper 90s fastball from the right-handed side, and he's got a lot of action on it. It's got a lot of ride. He's got a developing sinker, and that's what's going to get him up once he's really throwing that pitch where he wants to, that riding fastball, an action fastball, live fastball with a heavy sinker. And he can, get the sweeping curve into the mid 80s and get himself 12 to 15 mile an hour differential on his pitches. Dylan Smith's going to be up on this team for a while. He's going to be part of that bullpen, part of our bullpen days and our pitching chaos schemes. He's there. So, that's what I was talking about with Michael Massie. It's like, look no further, buddy. You are right now. You have the stuff to get up here pretty quick. Look at Dylan Smith. But I'm excited for him. I think we're going to see him, and he's been a very valued member already. He may go back down yet, Drew. He may. We shall see. But that's a valued arm in this organization is Dylan Smith. I don't think he's trade. I don't think they would trade him. He's shown that he can pitch in the major leagues.
Yeah.
He's shown that he can pitch in the major leagues. But I think he's going to be someone that's going to stick around.
Yeah, I like what we've seen so far. A guy like Dylan Smith, any young pitcher, if you got the stuff, that's 80%. But you got to have. Well, I wouldn't say 80%. That's half of it. The other half is, can you command it, and are you deceptive with your off-speed pitches? If you can do that, you're going to be a very valuable pitcher in the major leagues for a long time. He's got the stuff, and he's already shown us a little taste of it. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. At this point, yeah, like I said, probably not involved in a trade at the deadline. But
I could see why he would be,
because we got to see him a little bit, and yeah, you get a taste. And some of these gyms, I say, hey, I could use an arm like that in my system. I'm gonna have to part with this guy. He's gonna be a pending free agent. That's how it works. And yeah, so Dylan Smith could be involved in that, but yeah, he's an exciting arm. And now that we've already seen him, you kind of hope next year he makes the team out of Lakeland, out of spring training. So we'll see.
He could be here for October. I mean, he could be. He could be here to stay.
Absolutely. Let's talk about our 17th prospect, Coach.
In at number 17, Joseph Montalvo, staying on the hill there, Drew, staying on the bump. 6'2", 185-pound right-handed pitcher. He's in his age 23 years, so he's a little progressed. He's in Erie right now, playing for the Seawolves in Double-A or the Moon Mammoths. Depends on what the promotion is that night.
Yeah.
They are both the same team. Estimated to come up here by 2027. He is our, as you had mentioned, our 17th ranked prospect. And he was acquired last year from the Texas Rangers for Andrew Chafflin. So he's one of these guys that we have acquired and really kind of winds up being in the top 20 in our prospect rankings. This is a quality player. Because in his minor league career, he's got a 3.14 ERA and 265 Ks and 240 innings.
Pretty good.
So, I mean, this is a guy that's got a strikeout per inning plus, rating. He's got a good ERA, and he's got a swing and miss arm, with command. This is someone that we need to keep our eyes on. He's got the deceptive, he's got once again that deceptive fastball slider release. He's at around 12 mile per hour differential. So Joseph Montalvo, he's a Puerto Rican native. He went to high school in Kissimmee, Florida. Is somebody that's kind of climbing the ladder here. Now, this is a prospect that could get to the major leagues. You could even say in some places in 2026, in some situations. In most, it's 2027. And by that time, he would be one of those guys that we're talking about, like Dylan Smith, that's kind of borderline here to stay. And you would still get a couple, 2-3 years of team control. He might be of some interest in the trade market here, just by what he has presented and the body of work that he has created for himself in both the Rangers and the Tigers organizations. Joseph Montalvo is somebody we should be interested in as Tiger fans down the road. He does have some time to incubate here, and he is also somebody that could be mentioned or a part of trade packages at the deadline to fortify the 2025 Tigers.
And this is one of several players, we'll see that were picked up in deadline deals that the Tigers made where they received prospects in return, as they've been sellers for the most part over the last 8-9 years. But at the same time, it's great to see a Montalvo crack the top 20. I love that he's got command. I think that puts them ahead of the last two prospects we talked about because he's established very good command. I love the strikeout per inning plus statistics. Obviously, Double-A. That's, to me, if you're getting it done in Erie, obviously Toledo's Triple-A higher, but Double-A is typically where your top prospects would go and leapfrog into the MLB once they're ready to go. If they're at that level, and so Montalvo's got a chance to do that. Definitely like his stuff, Coach.
Yeah. I think he is somebody that, that 2027 is a very conservative estimate. Wouldn't be surprised to see him, called up in 2026.
Yeah, that would be exciting. Definitely one to watch next year in spring training for sure. Let's talk about our number 16th prospect, Coach.
Staying on the bump, staying on the hill, and we're going to stay on the right side of things as well in regards to the arm. We're talking about Josh Randall, big kid, 6'4", 240-pound right-handed pitcher, age 22 year, out of Lakeland, Florida. Of the Flying Tigers. So again, 22 years old, playing for the Flying Tigers in Lakeland. He's played some college baseball. This is a college arm. And that he surely was. He's estimated to come up by 2027 himself. We drafted Josh in the 3rd round of last year, 85th overall. He finished his college career at the University of San Diego, had started at the University of Arizona, pitched out of the bullpen in Arizona, and was one of the primary starters out of the University of San Diego. He has got he's got some experience in both kind of facets of pitching as he becomes a professional. He has been a bullpen arm, and he has been in the starting rotation at a high level, high Division I level.
Yeah.
He is currently in the starting rotation in Lakeland. So, that is where he is at. Now, he doesn't have a lot of numbers. He's not generated yet. He's a college arm, so they were gentle with him last year. And it's been, a bit slower going this year so far, which does happen a little bit. But we're talking about a mid-90s sinker. He's got a heavy sinker. That is a pro pitch. That is an out pitch. That's how those get pounded into the ground more times than not. He's got a 3/4 arm angle, so it can be a bit deceptive. You don't get to see, that ball release from the hand as much. You don't get to see grip near as much.
Mm-hmm.
And he can get that he can get that thing, that fastball sinker rolling up around 98 miles an hour. So Josh Randall, just there alone, has some stuff that can get him to Detroit or to the major leagues.
Yeah.
I think people are going to look at that, and I think other GMs and a lot of other scouting, groups and scouting teams and staffs will look at him and see that he has the fastball sinker combo that can, and he learns to throw a cutter. You get him a little bit of a good changeup kind of there you go. There you go. You've got a power arm there, maybe out of the pen, whatever the case may be. And you could really climb the ladder pretty quickly and get Josh Randall pitching in your major league organization. So he is certainly someone to watch here in Detroit. And I think he is, as we move up this chain of command here as the 16th ranked prospect, another guy that you could hear being involved in trades too, Drew. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not comparing him to this guy, but he's got similar traits as to Joel Zumaya. Zumaya was a starter in the minors, but he ultimately ended up being a setup guy because a heavy fat man. Zumaya topped out at 103, but similar stuff. So I'm excited about that. I likely with his stuff and his makeup, I see him likely more as a reliever in that type of role, maybe a setup guy, an ace setup guy, or and closer stuff too. So yeah, he will be mentioned at the deadline. I don't think there's any doubt about that, Coach. He's got good stuff, and he's being 16th in the pipeline. That would be a nice fit if the Tigers are able to improve themselves and make a World Series run this year. So keep an eye on Randall. Hopefully he's in the system. Hopefully
the faster track for Josh Randall will definitely be in relief. Absolutely. He possesses, that heavy sinker and hard, heavy fastball, middle upper 90s. Those will always be welcome.
Absolutely. Let's talk about our 15th prospect, Coach.
Staying on the hill, but we're going to go to the left side this time. We're talking about Jake Miller, 6'2", 185-pound left-handed pitcher. He's already 24 years old. And he is in Erie right now. He is looking like he is about ready to make his major league debut. Who knows? It could even be in a September call-up this year.
Oh, yeah.
But certainly by next year, he should be prime. He is an 8th round draft choice. With the Tigers drafted him in the 8th round, 237th overall, out of Valparaiso.
Alpo.
So, if that sounds like, wow, what a long shot, it certainly is. Not dissimilar to the 9th round draft choice out of the University of Seattle that we know as Tarek Skubal.
Yes.
So, yeah, that should be interesting. This is a bullpen arm for the most part, though, as it looks like. He was dominant at times for Lakeland. Earlier in his career, he had 183K to 42 walk year 1 year. I mean, that's marvelous. That's something that's definitely going to put you into the major leagues. As a minor leaguer, he's got a 3.73 ERA with 183 Ks, and 154 and a third innings pitched. So we're talking about a guy that's well over a strikeout an inning. pitcher here. So gets a lot of swings and misses. Having a fine here this year. He's 2.12 ERA with a 1.06 WHIP at Erie this year. So he's really making the step here, Drew.
Yeah.
Jake Miller, and he's a left-hander. So this is where, and hey, I'm left-handed. They're not unicorns, but they're rarer than right-handers. There are.
Yeah, and
they just simply are. It's not a 50-50 type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys, they grow on trees, but those trees are harder to find than the right-handed pitching trees are.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so, there is where Jake Miller's value is, both here with the Tigers and on the trade market, Drew. Again, I want a World Series championship. So I there's just only a handful of names, and we're going to be talking about them here shortly, that I don't want to see them move on from. Could I let go of a Jake Miller? I certainly could. If it meant that we were going to acquire a player that was going to get us a World Series championship here.
Yep.
That's what it's all about. Yes, I think he could be involved in that kind of a package. I also do see a valued guy that could be part of bullpen days and pitching chaos out of our bullpen here very, very soon too.
Yeah, I think of Tyler Holton when I think of Jake Miller. Similar role, similar stuff. So again, there's great value there, and other teams will see that. So I think he's a definite candidate this year at the deadline. But certainly glad he's in the system, and like to see that he's another like you said mid round draft choice out of college, but still. You like when you can cultivate that mid and late round talent, man. It's difficult to cultivate your early round talent in baseball. It's just such a crapshoot with the draft. You got to have your scouts on point, and most importantly in baseball, you've got to have the staff to develop your players all the way through the system. And that's the key. And obviously it's important in hockey, but a lot of times in hockey, players won't even play in the system until they get to just the AHL, and then that's it. They're in juniors or college or overseas. Baseball, you'll spend 3 or 4 years in a team system before you get to the bigs, and that's really key. And the Tigers have shown that they can really develop arms, certainly over the last 5 to 10 years. And hopefully that doesn't change. Like Jake Miller a lot, he's got a bright future in MLB with the Tigers or without.
Yeah, because I think you had mentioned a guy like Tyler Holton, this kind of wave of pitchers. It's going to come a point in time where we're going to have to invest dollars in certain ways, and Tyler Holton's going to have service time that's going to pay him a certain level. Yeah. Are we going to want to do that? Well, then you cycle guys in like Jake Miller, or you leverage them to even make the team better so you can have yet another Tyler Holton here in the organization. But exciting either way for him.
Yeah, you got it. That's exact point. Spot on, Coach. Our number 14th prospect, Coach, who we got?
Well, we're going to go to a positional player for the first time in our ranking compilations with our 14th ranked Tiger prospect. It's Enrique Jimenez, 5'9", 170-pound switch hitting catcher, young guy. We're going to talk about several catchers, and we're in a very interesting position because we have who, in my mind's eye, and I think Barry Sanders, who's sitting next to me, is mind's eye too. An all-star catcher, Dylan Dingler.
He's got those numbers, no question.
I think he is. We're paying a guy that and Jake Rogers, who is definitely a major league catcher. He is definitely a major league catcher. We have a couple more catchers we're going to be talking about here very shortly that are a little closer to making their major league debuts and contributing here. And then you have young Enrique Jimenez here. That's down in the Gulf Coast League Rookie League. So, he is a long ways away. We're talking about, maybe around 2028. That's what MLB Pipeline is estimating he could be up here. This is an international signing, from the Tigers from a couple years back in January of 2023, out of Venezuela, Barcelona, Venezuela. He's got more walks than he does strikeouts in his pro career as a hitter. 9 career home runs, 59 career RBIs, and his numbers, he's very early on. So you have to understand that, that he is his numbers are still very much a work in progress. He's not played a lot of professional baseball yet. He's got 11 stolen bases for a catcher in a low amount of games. And in a career, minor league career, 365 on base percentage. So there's some things to like there. This year, and they're kind of unleashing him here now as their catcher one at the rookie level, which, that in of its own right is an accomplishment to even be that guy. He's got 30 hits, 5 home runs, 23 RBIs, and 803 OPS. So he's going to climb the ladder. He's going to wind up in Lakeland here, probably in his age 19 year, at least to finish the year and likely to start again next year. This is someone that we're either going to be talking about being in the top 10 as a catching prospect for the Tigers here in the next couple of years, or we will be, because he will have replaced one that will either be up in the organization or will have been traded. Or Enrique Jimenez himself is going to be one of these young players that we leverage here at the end of this month, because he certainly is a toolsy player. He can bat from the left or the right hand side. Not a real big guy, 5'9", 170 pounds,
No.
but he's got a lot of offensive tools, Drew, and he wears that catcher's gear. That's something that we have a lot of in our organization, a lot of. So what are your thoughts here, Drew? We're going to talk about a couple other catchers here soon.
Yep.
Real soon. But what are your thoughts on the catching position and Enrique Jimenez himself?
I'm really happy to see that the pipeline's filling up with catchers, and having Dingler, really he's a second round pick just a few years ago. And Dylan Dingler, like you said, is putting up all-star caliber numbers this season. I think he's a little unlucky this year that Cal Raleigh's having a borderline all-time career year as a catcher, and there's a couple others that are having great years as well. But Dingler's right in that conversation. He's definitely top 5 in the American League this year, no question. I don't know if that's good enough to make the All-Star team, but it's certainly in the conversation, like you said. Jimenez, let's see. I'd like to see him put on another 20 pounds of muscle. No question about that. And I'm sure he will. He's only 19. I mean, heck, he will put on some good weight. Will he stay a catcher? I don't know. But to be a switch hitting catcher and to have the already showing some good results, in rookie league ball, that's invaluable. I don't know if we'll hear his name as much at the deadline, because there's a couple other guys in the pipeline that probably are due to get there quicker. So he might be safe in terms of who other GMs might want to pluck out of the system. We'll see.
Yeah, and he's already at 14. So, I mean, he's kind of destined to be in the top 10 either way, whether he's a prospect for us or for somebody else by next year, by the end of next year. He'll then be through his age 20 year and progressing towards, getting in towards his service time, which is really, that's great. That's great for a young guy.
Yeah.
Do these other gentlemen that we're going to be talking about have do they have a little more value at this point in time? Yes, they do. But that's for their time. We'll talk about them here shortly. I tend to agree with you though, Drew. I do think he will be he'll move up that ladder, and like I said, I think he'll be finishing in Lakeland this year.
Yeah, it's encouraging. So I'll be curious to see how he finishes this year, and then see where they have him kind of earmarked for next year. So yeah, definitely going to be fun to watch Enrique Jimenez. Let's talk about our number 13. Randall.
Back to the hill, Drew. Back to the hill. We're going to go from the left-handed side once again, and Ethan Shifeline, 6'2", 280-pound lefty. He's 19 years old, so he was a high school arm. And he's also down at the Gulf Coast League, so he's being caught by Mr. Jimenez, a little bit. So we're looking at a guy that's a ways away. 2028. And we weren't playing around when we picked him. We picked him out of high school, out of Corona, California. He was a competitive balance, pool B selection, which would be in and around that second, third round area of the draft. So he was a high pick. Decided to sign here rather than play at UCLA. So he was a highly touted arm out of his school and youth play. 2-0 with 9 Ks and then 9 innings pitched in 2025. So far, so good. He's doing a fine job. He's got a heavy action on a low 90s sinker. So he's coming from the left side, heavy action, low 90s. That's all you need. You've got all the ride and the movement. Now it's all about locating that pitch wherever you want to, because he can break off his sweeping and breaking pitches in his lefty curve in the 70s to the 80s. So, he throws a couple different, I think, breaking pitches. So he can definitely get his 10-15 plus, differential, going. And that's, really, if Ethan, Shifeline can continue to develop Drew on top of what's a pretty sharp kid and a pretty good feel for the game, he could have elite stuff, and that's going to get him up young. He's 13th ranked in the system, at the age of 19. Yeah. So this is a value lefty arm, and I think they can see the tools that he has. And you see that low 90s area. We're talking about a comfortable arm. We're not, a guy that's likely to be protected from some of the things like Tommy John and some of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But Ethan Shifeline, value arm here, Drew. Yes, it looks like he's a ways away, but I certainly would love to see him stick in the organization because I think he is somebody that could contribute for sure as a lefty arm here in Detroit. But he's, again, this another one, in this that's made up this phenomenal farm system that could be very well liked in the trade market as well.
Yeah, he's one of those guys you could say, okay, I want your number 5 and your number 13, and then you can have, John Doe, stud veteran for your World Series run. Yeah, I could see that happening. You hope not, because there's a lot to like here. Being left-handed, and like you said, having that easier motion and just that has the stuff that isn't going to stress the elbow as much as the high torqued up fastballs or the violent deliveries. He's a little different in that regard. So Scheifele being someone you'd like to see stick and stay and see what happens with him over the next couple seasons. So be very interesting to see what happens at the deadline, because I think he'll be definitely looked at and mentioned.
Yep, sinker and cut fastball is the name of the game. Being able to throw those pitches to being a pro baseball player. And yeah, for sure. He's a lefty. Yep. And it's just that right there holds the value. Either way.
Exactly. Yep, you're spot on. Let's talk about our number 12 prospect coach.
Guy that we've talked about, we've seen, Tiger fans have seen our number 12 prospect in action, and that's Tai Madden, 6'3", 215-pound right-handed pitcher. He's 25 years old, and he made his major league debut during the great run of last year in August 26th of 2024. So he was basically a September call-up that helped us get into the playoffs and where we are today. So this is a guy that has been part of the climb for sure. He was drafted by the Tigers in Pool A, in the competitive balance Pool A area, which that's in between the first and second rounds. 32nd overall out of Texas, and he was one of the mainstay starters for the Texas Longhorns during his time there. So this is a big time player coming out of his youth high school phase, and was a big time college player. So this is a big time arm. This is an esteemed pitcher. Like we said, he was part of the great race of 2024 for the Detroit Tigers. And he went 1-1 with a 4.30 ERA and 23 innings during that run. So this is Tai Madden has shown that, definitely he's got wares for Major League Baseball. He had 433 Ks and 337 and a third innings in the minor leagues. So he has definitely proven himself to be triple-A major league level arm. He's recovering from an injury that happened during spring training, and that is going to derail things a little bit. And I think that's likely to get him, obviously, in a minor league rehabilitation schedule. He's likely to progress Lakeland to West Michigan to Erie to eventually Toledo. I think that's where we're going to see Tai Madden, because things are, and who knows, other injuries could take place. And here you go, Tai Madden's healthy now, and he's part of this run once again. That's kind of how it worked for him last year. I see it more like that this year as well, just because he's nursing the injury. Otherwise, you do have a guy that has some Major League Baseball service time already, Drew.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's got 403 Ks and 337 and third innings. He can get people to swing and miss. So he's a valued arm. He could be a part of a trade package, but I think he's going to be around, and I think he's great depth for us for now. But once again, we could revisit his name potentially in the winter meetings as a guy that they could be, because they could be looking at, because he's just in a situation here where he's going to be kind of a 5A guy. He's going to be an I-75 Tiger, a Toledo, Detroit guy. So hey, we shall see. But Tai Madden's going to be around for a little bit longer, I think, Drew.
Yeah, I definitely don't like with the injury, the deadline. No, I'm not fearing that. But yeah, winter meetings, if he's healthy, yeah, because he's someone that's proven that he can pitch in the big leagues, and he did a decent job last year for them. I'm expecting him to compete next year, to be in the mix, to be on the squad, to make the team. We'll see what happens, depending on how he recovers from the injury. But we know what Tai Madden can do, at least. The guys that we mentioned, previously haven't done it as much, but they have high ceilings too. So I'm not sure. I think a lot of them have higher ceilings but lower floors. Madden, we kind of know what you're getting already, which is why he's kind of smack dab in the middle here. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and he's climbed that ladder. He's done that himself, and he's done it relatively quickly. I mean, he's just was drafted here in a couple of years back. So I mean, and he's in his 25 year. Next year will be 26. So he's getting close to being arbitration eligible, and then eventually a free agent. So yeah, we shall see. But Tai Madden has definitely climbed the ladder and gotten himself dead in the middle of the mix here.
You got it. Let's talk about our number 11 prospect coach.
Talk about a younger guy now. We're going to go back to a positional player, and Fran Yerberia, 6 foot, 160 pound switch hitter. He can play the infield positions, and he can really play all of them. When we say about all of them, first, second, short, third, he can play all of them. Kind of impressive that way. He's in his age 20 year, and he's with the Lakeland Flying Tigers. Talk about a guy that's still got a little service time left, it looks like, in the minor leagues as he continues to develop. But he was an international signing out of Venezuela back in 2022, January of 2022. He's playing shortstop right now, but he can play first, second, and third. He's done that with good reps and good results throughout his minor league service time. He's got a career 741 OPS with an OBP of 368. That's a career OBP of 368. So he gets on base. 16 homers, 96 RBIs, 129 runs on 178 hits. So he's very active on the bases. He's got 77 stolen bases in a young minor league career. So this is an offensive threat that can play a lot of positions.
Yeah.
A lot of positions, Drew. 730 OPS with 25 stolen bases and 34 runs scored in 2025. So you can kind of see the type of player he is. He's an active, base running menace that can play all over the infield. Boy, Drew, does that sound like somebody I think a lot of teams would like to have?
Sounds like Zach McKinstry in a lot of ways too, and you like that because old Zach can play in a lot of places, pretty much everywhere. Probably play center field if you made him. I mean, yeah, Montila's a nice prospect. You got to love the speed, the versatility. The Tigers have been very good at cultivating pitching and outfield talent. infield's where they've been working on it, and you're starting to see they're starting to bear the fruit. But I would say the infield's probably further behind than others. That's why they went out and got a Gleyber Torres and then quickly signed a Colt Keith to a reasonable contract to get him up and ready, because that's where they've been struggling. But you'll see now, you're going to see some more infield gloves in this prospect ranking. So his versatility alone and his speed makes him a very, very interesting prospect. I don't know if he's somebody that Scott Harris would be willing to part with in a deal, or if he values him to the point where it's like, that's now you're getting in that gray area. Maybe this is a guy that I wouldn't say is untouchable, but maybe not this year.
Yeah, I think just the guys, he won't be if we move. I mean, he's either going to do one of two things, Drew. He's either going to be one of these guys that's going to be parted with, just because of his versatility that he brings defensively, and his active, kind of dangerous base running run scoring machine type offensive game that he has. That's going to be very, very attractive to some players, to some groups, and it's going to allow Scott Harris to protect some of these other middle infielders that we're going to talk about here very soon. Because we really have Fran Yerberia covered with some other prospects ahead of, unless we use those players as individuals we're going to trade, and that then elevates Fran Yerberia up into that group, where he would be definitely a top 10 player next year. I'm excited either way. If we get somebody of substance for our Fran Yerberia in a package group of players, and we didn't, there's a lot of great prospects that we didn't even mention today that didn't make the top 20 that we covered. But I mean, there's a lot of different top 20s, folks. There's other players too. Barry wanted to make sure that was well known. But that could be the case too, where Fran Yerberia really replaces one of these other prospects.
Yep, be very interesting to see where he racks and stacks next year, assuming he's still in the pipeline, and he's in doubt. But we will see. Let's go to our 10th rated prospect, Coach.
Into the top 10, Drew. Into the top 10. We're going back on top of the hill to player one. Troy Melton, 6'4", 210-pound right-handed pitcher in his age 24 year. He is up with the Mud Hens. We're talking about a AAA arm here, and we should expect to see him at some point in time this year, which means as we're progressing here, we haven't seen him yet. We're probably talking about a September call-up. And we're going to protect some arms during this time, just because that's what you do, and to get ready for that October run. We're definitely going to see some more pitching prospects called up, willing that we're able to continue on this path. But we're talking about our 10th ranked prospect here. And he was drafted in the 4th round, 117th overall back in 2022 out of San Diego State. And that's a place that has produced some fine baseball players and pitchers, as of late. Steven Strasburg to come to mind.
Yeah.
He's a swing and miss guy with an upper 90s fastball, your typical Southern California, big arm that way. And he's got a middle upper 80s changeup. So he's a power arm.
Yeah.
Troy Melton throws the ball hard. And he's in and around that -10 area in regards to differential, which is tightening a bit. And when they guess you're right, and they're going to hit the ball real hard and a long way usually. Mm-hmm. But that also generates a lot of swings and misses. That's heavy stuff to keep up with. And when you're on, you're making guys swing and miss a lot. That differential doesn't mean as much when you throw the ball as hard as Troy Melton does. Career 1.27 whip with 296 Ks and 257 in a third innings. He's 12-12 with a 3.8.5 ERA for his career too. This year, 3.77 ERA with 78 Ks and 59 2/3 innings. So he's competing. He's very competitive. That fastball is definitely an arm that can play pro baseball and yield solid results. That's kind of what you've seen with Troy Melton. We've seen guys like Brant Herter be near 5 ERA guys in the minor leagues for seasons and come to the major leagues and be below 2.50. So being that he's a career 3.85 ERA and throwing 3.77, are those the law of averages, so to speak? They're not the end of the world either. Those are solid numbers. The K's, if he's making people swing and miss, Troy Melton has value, Drew. But he's our 10th ranked prospect.
Yep, and to me it comes down to command. Can you command your location? Can you keep the fastball low in the zone? I love that. I love when guys have the changeup as a secondary out pitch because it doesn't stress the arm as much, and it's becoming more popular. I mean, I think we've seen enough Tommy John surgeries that guys are embracing the changeup more because you can do a lot of things with the changeup. Hell, when we were younger, Coach, of course the changeup was there, but it wasn't as prevalent, and it was more of just an off speed, not so much of a pitch that had movement and deception. It was just the deception was simply the drop in velocity. But now these guys are really, the circle changes and what have you. And Tommy Canley's is like a glorified knuckleball. I mean, that thing's amazing. So if Troy Melton can bring that to the table, he's got a hell of a shot of being a Tiger next year, no question. Or even coming up this year, without question.
Right. Yeah. Troy wants to beat you. Troy wants to beat you up. He's a power arm. He wants to beat you with his beef, with his upper 90s fastball and really and make you play a hard, heavy game. And that generates a lot of swings and misses, and that's kind of the name of the game we have. But we got a swing and miss arm with him, and he'll definitely hold value as time moves on. I see him as safe. I just do. I don't see him as a guy, for whatever reason. I don't really have a lot of reason to say otherwise. But I mean, I don't see him being moved on from. Because I do see him as a guy that could at least be a 5A power arm in 2026 and 2027, and then we can see where his service time then goes from there.
Yeah, no question. I agree with you 100% on that, Coach. Yeah, ceiling's not tremendously high.
It's going to happen soon, though, because he's going to be a Rule 5 guy.
Yeah,
after long.
Exactly. So, yep, the time is upon us for Troy Melton. So we shall see. Let's go to our 9th prospect, Coach.
We're going to stay on the hill. We're going to stay on the right-handed side with the 6'3", 385-pound Owen Hall, but we're talking about a young guy, 19-year-old, and he's with the Lakeland Flying Tigers. 9th ranked prospect. So we're talking about a very valuable arm here. And he was drafted in the 2nd round, 49th overall last year out of Edmond, Oklahoma. He chose to sign with the Tigers over attending and playing at Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt is kind of like a Duke, UConn in basketball, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, and football type school. It's one of the elite baseball programs in all of the land. You're talking the LSUs, the Vanderbilts. These are the places, the Texases. These are the places where the big prospects go, and he was one of them. He throws a live riding upper 90s fastball. So I mean, he has got a colt of an arm. And that's what's got him up this ladder so quickly. He's got a good developing slider. So we're talking about something that's going to probably generate a 12 to 15 differential, pitch range. Going to go for a long time. Still working on commanding that live colt arm, though. 9 Ks, 9 innings, working on things in Lakeland this year. But, he could be a future late inning pitching chaos juggernaut. Because, very like Troy Melton, he's got, a swing and miss arm with a heavy, heavy fastball. This is a young man that, when he really kind of harnesses things, could be a triple digit arm. So, he's really up the ladder quick. And yes, that arm's got a lot of juice. And if there's any scouting departments and GMs that really, really value, though having live arms like that, Owen Hall is going to hold some value. He's someone that's going to probably, again, we're looking at 2028. He's going to be on our list for quite some time. He's not due to even be talked about for a couple of years. But, Owen Hall's got a colt of an arm, Drew.
Yeah, and that's assuming he's not trade bait at the deadline here because that arm is lively. But then again, that might be the reason why Scott Harris says, nah, we're gonna keep him. Very, very, a lot of potential, very high ceiling. already showing a little bit of what he can do, and to have that live of an arm at that age, and could easily put on another 15 pounds of lower body muscle to get more torque on. Like you said, he would hit triple digits eventually. That would be where he'd get it from. Get that lower body built up a little bit. And oh boy, yeah, there's a lot to like about Owen Hall. So
best is yet to come for him.
Exactly. Future's very bright for this young man. Let's talk about our 8th ranked prospect, Coach. And I know this guy.
Yeah, a lot of Tiger fans do, Drew. A lot of Tiger fans do, because this is the highest and most, the heralded international signing in Detroit Tiger history. Chris Rodriguez, 6'3", 203-pound outfielding prospect, right-hander, bats right, throws right. He's only 17 years old, and he's currently down in the Dominican State League, which is a developmental league, primarily of teenagers. So that's where he's at. We're talking about a very conservative estimate of 2030 for his Major League Baseball estimated time of arrival. I think it'll be sooner than that. But it's not going to be for at least another 3 to 4 years, probably 4 years, or 5 years. So I guess when looking at that way, I guess we are talking about, age 21 and that around that area. But he was signed back in January, and he is the highest ranked international signing we have ever had. He was a top 5 list on the MLB pipeline of top 5 prospects to be signed. He's being compared to Eloy Jimenez and Aaron Judge in regards to his speed, power, and athleticism, and how he plays the outfield. So we're talking about an elite talent. If harnessed, we could be talking about an absolute gem here. Now, this is someone that is going to be coveted. And already he's slugging .444 with a .759 OPS down with the Dominican State Tigers. And those are those elite numbers. We're talking about a 17-year-old kid playing pro baseball. He's playing with 19, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old players in some cases. He's also playing with other guys that are, and there might even be a couple 16-year-olds playing in there and some of the real elite talents that have been signed. Mm-hmm. But certainly with some other 17, 18, 19-year-olds too. But he's also playing with he's playing pro baseball. So he's showing himself there a little bit. Those numbers are going to only get better. I know. I think a lot of us are very excited. We see Riley Green and what he's doing, and we haven't really seen numbers being generated like this in quite some time from an outfielder. We could see having this combo down the road of a Riley Green and a Chris Rodriguez, and you certainly well could. You certainly well could. He's so young. He is so young, Drew. He's got so much to grow from. He's certainly going to be mentioned. He's certainly going to be asked about in trades. I mean, why wouldn't you? You have an elite talent. This is a future Major League Baseball player, and he's going to get into his service time at the age of 21, 22 years old. And, there's a lot of you could be talking about a future star here potentially, or you could be talking about a rank and file major leaguer. Nonetheless, I think we're talking about a guy that's a Major League Baseball player someday, and Chris Rodriguez, Drew.
Yeah, which is why, to me, I won't call him untouchable, but I would say the only way Chris Rodriguez would leave this organization in the next 2 years would be if you're getting a slam dunk, no-brainer veteran guy that's going to be an all-star caliber player that you can re-up with and keep around. That's the level of a prospect that Rodriguez is. So lots to like, sky high ceiling, and that's a hell of a comparison there. So he's got work to do, but oh my goodness, he's already 6'3", 203. I mean, you got to love the size. I mean, he that's a man right there, and he could get bigger. I mean, I'm not comparing to Cabrera, but Miggy Cabrera was about that size at that
age.
So, and he ended up being 6'4", 240. So at the end of the day, there's so much upside here. I would much rather see this young man stay in the system and see him eventually as a Tiger. But stranger things have happened.
Yeah, me too. I'm not thinking about him a lot, Drew. I just we have this great team and a loaded outfield right now.
Oh yeah,
with the players that we have here, and I'm thinking about those guys and who's going to get squeezed more than anything. You know, and he is going to make that even more difficult here down the road. So yes, I would love to incubate him and have him be a future Tiger. But I mean, again, if he is going to help us get a 5th or even a 6th World Series championship, then that's what he's here for.
Yep.
Or now somewhere else. So I mean, you know, whatever that takes. But yeah, I'm not thinking about Chris Rodriguez a ton right now. However, I'm very excited about him and so glad that we have him.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be fun to watch develop. No question. Let's talk about our number 7th rated prospect.
Yep, we got Jaden Ham, 6'1", 190-pound right-handed pitcher, age 22 year. He's with the Erie Seawolves, so he's in Double-A. And we're talking about a guy that could get here next year. He's a 5th-round pick, 143rd overall in 2023 out of Middle Tennessee State. He was fantastic last year at West Michigan. 122 Ks on 35 walks and base on balls, and that includes hits, batters. 1.05 whip with a 2.64 ERA. He's a very workmanlike pitcher. He's got, again, that kind of 3/4 deceptive arm angle and can throw a slider that just snaps away from guys and especially righties and can get that chase pitch. Then, you know, he's really able to demonstrate he's got that great chasing slider. And he should be up here. He should be up here as an opener, bullpen starter, however you want to refer that position, soon. You know, and we have roles. We do that here with the Tigers and do some of the pitching chaos type things. And he could develop into a rotational starter because that's ultimately what he really is. Career batting average against of 207. So he's had great numbers in the minors. Yeah. With a career 1.08 whip. And a 3.00 ERA and 168 innings. So he's not pitched a ton. However, he's pitched enough to show that he's a professional arm and working him towards some major league service time here, Drew. And again, I think that's what could be of value. And I know we're running long on time here a little bit. So this was a tough one to do, you know, in a timely manner when you're talking 20 prospects.
We got time.
But again, you know, we've talked about a lot of pitchers. Many are a long ways away. Jaden Ham is closer. We know that we always need them. It's great to have young, fresh arms. It really helps, preserve against the injuries that we do have in Major League Baseball when it comes to pitching. However, so do a lot of other organizations. We're talking about a guy here, Drew, that's getting close to his service time. So we're talking about a player that's going to be of interest to other teams as well.
Yeah, he's going to – I would think he'd be prominently mentioned by any team that's looking to trade with the Tigers. They're going to ask about Jaden Ham, and I would think he'd be available. And again, he's a right-handed pitcher. His niche role, they've got other guys in these roles, and they've got other prospects. So if they were going to part with a prospect, this would be a very good candidate. Of course, you'd like him to be with the Tigers next year, but in the case, like you said, if you can make a run to a 5th World Series championship, you might have to include a Jaden Ham in a deal, and you'd be giving up somebody with a pretty good ceiling, no question.
Yeah, he's just so close to his service time, which is cheap and productive. Then you win in a trade that way too. So yeah. I mean, So I mean, he's so close either way. Future's bright for Jaden Ham.
No question. Let's look at our number 6 prospect.
Going back to the field positions here, and this is we acquired him at the deadline.
Yep,
as a prospect out from the Phillies not too long ago. We're talking about Halu Lee, 5'9", 190-pound right-handed second baseman, third baseman. Had played some shortstop, early on in his progression, but has kind of worked himself to a second, third base type of player, which is very Zach McKinstry-like. He's in his age 22 year, and he is up with the Mudhens. And we are talking about a guy that we should be seeing this year. Halu was acquired via trade with the Phillies for Michael Lorenzen back in July of 2023. I can remember it well.
Oh, yeah.
And he's shown an offensive prowess in his climb through the Phillies minor league system, and he continued to do that in ours as well. He's a career 279 average with a 368 on base percentage and an 812 OPS, and that's for a career in the minor leagues. 188 runs scored, 176 RBIs, 36 homers, and 56 stolen bases. So this is a really good offensive player at the minor league level. This year, Drew, he's slugging 488 with an 851 OPS with a 298 average at Erie. That's what he did in 2024.
Really good. Yeah.
So, at the AA level, he really ranked. He batted very, very well. So far this year at Toledo, he's got 8 homers, 10 stolen bases, 353 on base percentage, and a 766 OPS. So he's hanging and banging at the AAA level. Is this a future super sub utility role guy? I could see it. I could see him being a guy that ultimately could replace a Zach McKinstry when it would be time to move on from him.
Yeah.
I also see a guy that is right at his service time that could wind up being an over 700 OPS starter for you, potentially, in a given role. So Hao Yu Lee holds great value for the Tigers on the trade market. He really, really does. And I think, we would be remiss to say that Hao Yu Lee is not one of our best trade chips, just for where he's at in his minor league service time, being ready to pretty much get that crack, being that he is an offensive weapon, and being that he is multi-positional and that he can play second and third base for you right now. That bodes pretty well there. I also, however, would really like to see Hao Yu Lee get an opportunity here, but I don't see the position for him right yet. I just don't. I mean, okay, is Trey Sweeney going to be around forever? No, but we've got some other guys we're going to be talking about there pretty soon.
Yeah.
So at second base, we have Glaber for this year. Then we have Colt Keith that we have signed long term. So, okay, what about third base? Well, there you go. There is a spot there. Could Hao Yu Lee be in the third base conversation? He certainly could.
Yeah.
He certainly could. And I guess if he was going to stick around, that's where it would be. Where do you see Hao Yu Lee being used through?
Yeah, you read my mind. That's exactly where he would go. Now, will Gleyber Torres be brought back next year? I would like to think they're going to make him a hell of an offer to get him to stay because he's been tremendous. And I would say one of the key additions, no question, that's helped this team stay at the level that they're playing at. But it's kind of bad luck for Lee because Javi Baez has had a career resurgence, and now he's a starting center fielder on the All-Star team, but he's also still a tremendous shortstop. And Javi Baez has also been a tremendous second baseman. So there are options. If Torres isn't brought back, like you said, you've got Colt Keith, but then third base is open. Or maybe Keith stays at third and there's a spot for Lee at second. I don't know. But there's a lot of opportunities there potentially. But I think the best path for him is likely third base. Retain Torres. You've still got Baez, Sweeney at short for another 3 years with Baez. So at the very least. So that's a good thing. Getting Javi Baez back to the level that you expected when you signed him is a huge benefit, but it also creates a good problem because you don't have as many spots now. You thought you had a glaring hole, and now you don't. But yeah, Lee's an excellent prospect.
Yeah, and either way, is either going to help the Tigers at the deadline, or is going to help the Tigers, fortify, like you said, those paths one way or the other.
Yep, exactly. So let's look at now we're going into the top 5. Here's our 5th ranked prospect.
We're going to talk about a couple catchers here, Drew. And, we had talked about the one in Jimenez. Well, this is another one of these catchers, and he's a little bit of a Johnny-come-lately in regards to the Tigers because we just acquired him at the end of last year. But we're talking about Tyron Lorenzo, 6'2", 195-pound switch hitting catcher, first base prospect. In his age 22 year, he is with the Erie Seawolves, and we are talking about a player that we could expect to be ready to play here next year.
Yeah.
So this is a guy, and he is close, folks, of making the catching first base prospects pretty interesting, because this guy can rake. We acquired him last year with Trey Sweeney from the Dodgers for Jack Flaherty last July. We have Jack Flaherty back, and all three of these players are contributing for the Detroit Tigers organization.
Mm-hmm.
For a career, Tyron Lorenzo has 53 home runs, 190 RBIs, a 376 on-base percentage, is a 460 slugger with an 836 OPS, and that's as a minor league player. He's an MLB Pipeline top 100 prospect. So he's one of those 5 guys that we have in the top 100 prospects. This year at Erie, he's got 8 homers, 354 on-base percentage, and a 744 OPS. So he's staying commiserate. He's looking pretty good. We're not done talking about catching prospects, Drew, or potential catching prospects. But Tyron Lorenzo is a very intriguing name because he was flipped at the deadline last year as part of a move.
Yeah.
He is being prominently mentioned as a guy that has people interested as well here. I don't think he'll be the only catching prospect that we have calls on. But Tyron Lorenzo, Drew, is one of these guys that really we have acquired as of late that was not originally drafted or signed by the Tigers, that has fortified this great farm system, Drew. Where do you see his existence 2026?
If you'd asked me at the beginning of this season, I would have said first base, because I didn't expect Spencer Torkelson to either be on the team or have a resurgence like he's had. Now, what we're getting is exactly what we had hoped from Spencer Torkelson. He's about a 235, 240 hitter, but he gets on base, so his OPS is at 800, and his power numbers are leading, at least American League, at first base in home runs and RBIs. So he's got the power numbers. He's getting the run production, and he's got the OPS, which counters that batting average, which is considerably lower than some of his competition in terms of all-star candidacy. That being said, there's no reason to think that Tork's going to fall off the map again. I think he's figured it out, and he's a very good baseball player. So now, catcher. Well, now you got Dylan Dingler there, and you've got Jake Rogers as a backup. So I think because of the positions he plays on this team, he's an outstanding deadline candidate to be traded, although he's got a lot of good traits that you'd really like to have a guy like to stay in your system. But in a way, like you said, Jack Flaherty's back. So in essence, they get Sweeney and Lorenzo for, in essence, nothing, because they get Flaherty back, and they still made the playoffs last year, which was amazing. I think if they make a trade, this is likely somebody that's going to be involved in it, because there's just not a spot for him in the next 2 to 3 years up at the big team potentially. Coach, that's how I'm looking at him.
I see the same way. I see it the same way. There's just not a spot, and his time is now, or getting close to being now.
Yeah.
We're getting close to being now. Now, we're not done talking about this position group yet either.
True.
And we have, and like we had said, whether he gets there this year or not, an all-star caliber catcher in Dylan Dingler.
Yeah.
He's at his age 22 year. He'll be age 23 next year. Tyron Lorenzo is going to get one on that major league diamond and start getting some of that major league service time going here as soon as he possibly can.
Yeah.
So a trade may be in his best benefit. Is he our juiciest catching prospect? He's a very juicy one, but I'm not so sure that he is, because on our next prospect and our 4th ranked prospect, we're talking about, Josu Briseño, 6'4", 200-pound left-handed batting first base catcher prospect in his age 20 year with the West Michigan Whitecaps. So we're talking about a little bit younger prospect. He's not quite going to be there yet, but his service time at the major league level is set to start at age 22, where Tyron Lorenzo's, he's 22 already.
Yeah.
So Josu Briseño is probably a little bit more of a gem prospect, just a little bit. obviously he's ranked 4th, not 5th, right, Drew?
Yeah.
He is a Tiger International signing out of Venezuela, January of 2022. He's got a career minor league tagline of 285 with a 383 on-base percentage and 484 slugging for 867 OPS in his minor league career. That is very good. Mm-hmm. We're talking about another. So Josu's another one of these guys. This year at West Michigan. And so, yeah, he's at high A right now. His line is 292, 421 on base, 604 slugging, with 15 home runs and 55 RBIs. So, I mean, we're talking about a guy that's, over 1.0 in his OPS right now at West Michigan. So, Josu is a guy that Drew, I think, could be, as far as prospects go, a little juicier than Lorenzo, and certainly a little bit more affirmed than Jimenez. That being said, he's also 6'4", 200 pounds. That's awful big, and is a guy that could be destined to play first base. He plays 2 power hitting positions.
Yeah.
I don't know, Drew. Who is of more value? Is it Josu Briseño, age 20, a little further back in his progression, however, maybe a little more talented, or is it Tyron Lorenzo, age 22, playing Double A, more of a prominent catcher? He is more of a catcher than first baseman. Mm-hmm. But it's easy to migrate. So he does have maybe a little bit more position versatility than Briseño, maybe a little more, but might not quite be the offensive juggernaut Briseño is. What do you think?
Yeah, that's where
I think these two gentlemen right here are great leverage for the Detroit Tigers.
Absolutely. So based on that, you can safely, I say safely, if you like both of them that much, and based on statistics, they're very close in terms of what games they play, and they both play the same positions. Obviously, they're different players, but you can part with one and still have that guy in the pipeline. So I totally agree with you. Dingler being up there, though, I like Briseño in 2 years projecting to be the first baseman with Torque DHing more. I like that, even though Torque's improved his defense. And sorry, kids, if you said 3 years ago he deserved a Gold Glove, I got a good psychiatrist for it. No. This year he's playing a hell of a lot better first sack. His glove has improved every year. Rookie year, second year, still shaky, but this year he's definitely made some strides. But I like Briseño in that regard. So if you asked me who would I part with, not really knowing these guys that intimately, I would rather have Briseño 2 years from now. And then if I have to make a deal, Lorenzo would be the guy I would part with.
I see it the exact same way. Once again, Drew, I see as a guy that has a positional fit in between first base and catcher. I think he can be a predominant first baseman. And then, yes, Torque can be in there and get in there and play some first as well. And also, and you have Colt Keith that can go over there and man that position too. And then you can get, Briseño behind the dish at times to spell Dingler. And Dingler's got to be able to prove himself to be that guy that is going to be a prominent catcher. But I see that the same way too. I see that one of the two I really feel is going to be dealt. If they both are, I really want to know who we got because that would be unforeseen.
As much as Jake Rogers is an outstanding defensive catcher, he's one of the guys in the locker room that I think is a leader. He's both. He also keeps things loose. And that's invaluable too. And he's got pop, but you can't be a 210 hitter with an OPS in the 600s or lower. That ain't gonna fly. Even if you're only catching a part-time, that's not gonna get it. You've got to be able to hit. And Jake Rogers is in trouble in that regard down the road. This year, no, obviously, but down the road, he's gonna have to compete. He's gonna have to hit better, or he won't have a spot on that team. So
100%
is what it is. Let's go in our top three, Coach. Of course, we're talking about all guys in the top 100 pipeline at this point, but let's talk about our number 3 prospect.
Yeah, we're talking about Bryce Rayner, and this is a little bit of a Johnny-come-lately. So if you consider yourself a Tigers fan, and we know that you are, if you're watching this episode into this depth, you certainly are, and you probably know this name quite well. 6'3", 195-pound prospect, left-handed batting, infield prospect, prominently a shortstop. He is in his age 20 year, playing for the Lakeland Flying Tigers. He's scheduled to come up here in a few years still. Again, he has climbed the ladder, boy, and he has been someone that we kind of were gifted when we got him last year, because he drifted a little further back because of signing issues, but that was not an issue for the Tigers. We went above a little bit draft slot value and got Mr. Rayner signed. First round pick, 11th overall. He's a Southern California kid, played at Harvard Westlake High School, which is an amazing baseball program in Los Angeles, and he's a great product of that organization. That's where Dan Petrie is out of. So, I mean, and many, many others. He was scouted as a pitcher. He could have been a pitching prospect as well as a positional player, but he really likes to hit and wants to hit. And, that's why he has gone infield. He has been compared to Corey Seager and Bobby Witt Jr. He is someone that it is clicked and clicked quickly. Sadly, we have lost Bryce Rayner for the season due to an unfortunate incident. He was diving back into first base after a pickoff move and separated his shoulder to the point where it needed to have surgery. And that's why he is shelved for the remainder of this year. He is an MLB pipeline top 100 prospect. He's got a ton of upside. Moving up the ladder. He is a guy that is not going to be traded. I really don't feel that that's going to happen. I think he is protected here. He's going to be a value and of intrigue, but we are talking about a shortstop prospect that we have not had here in quite some time. And whether he stays at shortstop, who knows? Will this injury determine that? No. Colt Keith had this exact same injury, a few years back. Okay. And you can see him now. He's doing all sorts of things, playing all sorts of infield positions. So, sure. Bryce Rayner is likely to recover just fine. But Drew, this is a fine prospect.
Yeah, likely not though this year because of the injury, like you said, and because of his upside. I don't think Scott Harris is going to be floating the name out per se, but he's going to be asked about. So, at the end of the day, yeah, lot to like here. Very exciting. Good size. That's a man size there, 6'3", 195, and likely going to put on about 10 pounds of muscle down the road here very soon. So. Looking forward to seeing what he does next year, how he recovers. But to be compared to a Seager or Bobby Witt Jr., that really rings for Tiger fans. That's certainly going to mean something. So
he has a cannon arm.
Yeah,
this is an arm.
Yeah, that's a guy you want to keep around a little bit. So let's see how it develops. You're taking a chance because you never know, but nothing's a sure thing. But Bryce Rayner is definitely someone you want to keep around. I think this next
swing it too.
Oh yeah, this next prospect I think most Tiger fans are most familiar with. Take it away, Coach.
Yeah. Max Clark's our 6 foot, 205-pound left-handed outfield prospect. Our second-ranked prospect, currently with West Michigan Whitecaps. He's going to get up here sooner rather than later. We're talking about right around age 22 year, which is what we thought it would be for him. He was a high draft choice for us. One of our last real high draft choices, third overall, out of Franklin High School in Franklin, Indiana, in the first round back in 2023. He's represented us, to the last 2 years in the MLB All-Star Weekend Futures game, as a participant. So he's going to be there this year once again, representing the Tigers. In his career, he's got 209 hits, 141 RBIs, 46 stolen bases, 274 average, 394 on base percentage, and an 811 OPS. And those are career numbers. 394 on base percentage is outstanding. That's near it for the minor leagues. That's really, really good. This year, his line is 284, 429, and 424 with an 853 OPS, 7 homers, 47 RBIs, and 12 stolen bases for the Whitecaps. So he's progressing really, really well. We're talking about a high-level player. He is, through his progressions, he's always in the all-star caliber range. So we're talking about a guy that's developing very, very well. Yes, we do know him well. He was, he's a 3rd overall pick in an era where we get a lot of media in regards to those kinds of picks. And, Max Clark has made all the commiserate, developmental marks. He is really, really well on his way. Our outfield is absolutely stacked with the Tigers. Absolutely stacked. But Parker Meadows is not hitting worth a hill of beans right now. Not at all.
Nope.
It has not been great. Kerry Carpenter, how long is he for the outfield in regards to being an everyday outfielder? There we go. Matt Bierling, how long is he going to be around, and is he going to be a 3rd baseman? Wenzel Perez, how long is he going to be able to be affordable within his role? Yeah. We have a guy here that's ahead of his progression than Chris Rodriguez. He's clearly, he's already in high A. Chris Rodriguez is in the developmental state league in the Dominican Republic. I don't think he's going to be traded at the deadline, Drew.
No.
It would have to yield a all-star superstar with club control that we would have multiple years to be able to move on from a guy with these kinds of wheels, with this kind of offensive ability, with the ability that he does to play 3 different outfield positions. I think Max Clark is a future Tiger. I do.
Yeah. Not someone you want to part with. This is the future. Riley Green, in the next 3 years, you would like to see him in the outfield, Riley Green and whoever else. Wenzel Perez is proving to be an outstanding defensive outfielder and a very clutch hitter. And I agree with your assessment on Carpenter. When does he become the DH in essence, and the spot outfielder? And then there's other guys that can play, like you said. Will Veerling be there? And you've got other options out there that can. McKinstry can play the outfield, of course, as a super sub. Max Clark's definitely someone you wanna have part of your core down the road. So yeah, it would take a very, very special prospect, or not prospect, but a major league caliber, all-star caliber player at the deadline to be able to make you part with Max Clark. So no, I think he'll be in the system. He's going to get a good look in spring next year, but I think he's probably going to Double-A Erie next year. And if he plays well there, likely skips Triple-A and goes to Toledo in 27, like you're forecasting.
Yeah, well, yeah, that'd be the progression. He'd be end of the year guy that maybe gets called up to Erie. Then next year splits Erie and Toledo to a certain degree, and then it gets his crack in 27.
And I've seen him ranked, and I don't know where he's at in the top 100 off the top of my head. I've seen him as high as 3.
Yeah, he is a high level MLB pipeline, decorated player, Baseball America as well.
Yeah, so exciting stuff. And he's the number 2 prospect for the Tigers, because here's the number 1. Coach, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, we have a guy that decorated, and he's not even your number 1 prospect in your prospect pool. Things are going really, really well. Kevin McGonigal, 5'10", 187-pound, left-handed batting shortstop infield prospect in his age 20 year, so he's in the same age, excuse me, as Max Clark. So he's with West Michigan. He's progressing right alongside him. And he is also estimated to be coming up around the year 2027. The first ranked Tiger prospect in most pools, most organizations rank the Tigers farm system to be the best in the land. So this is the best prospect and the best system. He was drafted by the Tigers in Pool A, competitive balance Pool A in 2023, the 37th overall selection out of Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. He went to a Catholic high school there. Real good player, obviously. He's basically a first-round draft pick out of high school. And his minor league, career tagline is 325, 423, 500 slugging. That's a 923 career OPS in the minor leagues.
Tearing it up.
164 hits, 105 runs, 89 runs batted in, 32 stolen bases. This year at West Michigan, 358, 449 on-base percentage, 623 slugging. That's a 1.072 OPS with 7 homers, 39 RBIs, 39 runs scored. He's got as many runs scored as he does RBIs on 57 hits. He is killing it, Drew. Now he's in high A. He is in high A, so he does have some progression time to go and look at here. But you are looking at what appears to be an all-star caliber offensive player in Kevin McGonigal.
Yeah.
He is somebody that he's about ready to just leap the next level of progression. I mean, if you're 1.072 OPS at high A, I think it's fair to say that you could probably get your AAA look here this year. That you can get your AAA look this year. And yes, season a little bit more at the age of 21 in AAA. And maybe make your debut in 26. But we got to find room for him. Okay, did it look like, is it coming? And is it coming, Drew? Kevin McGonigal, again, if we're trading Kevin McGonigal, and yes, he's in the pipeline, top 100.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting hopefully a transformational player to an already amazing roster.
Yes.
It's going to fortify us, and it's just going to get us our 5th World Series trophy.
That's exactly the circumstance it happened.
Or he's part of the future. It looked like that, and could timing be right? Could Javi Baez be wrapping up right in and around that time? He could be. Is Kevin McGonigal ahead of Bryce Rayner? He is. He is. I mean, he's a year younger, or a year older,
and healthy.
Yeah, and healthy. So, it makes it awful interesting. Is he as dynamic as Bryce Rayner? I mean, no, he's not this blue blood 6'3", 200-pound athlete, or 6'3", 195-pound athlete. He's more diminutive, 5'10", 187. Does he have more versatility than Bryce Rayner? I mean, Bryce Rayner they're only talking about shortstop for him right now too. So I mean, in regards to that, that's going to come down to range and glove, and that can be analyzed. And obviously, the proof will be in the pudding. The only thing is, Drew, I just can't see Kevin McGonigal on the field yet. I just can't.
No, like you said, it's at least, I would say, 3 years. It would be 3 years in essence, because that's how long we have Javi Baez under contract. And I'm looking that up right now just to validate that. And I know Baez has 3 more seasons left on his deal. Make that 2, excuse me. So yeah, the timing's right. Javi Baez is signed through 27. He'll be a free agent in 28. So that makes sense. If you go McGonigal up at AAA next year, Rainier up to AA next year, I think the progression's there. Now Trey Sweeney's still on the club, but Trey Sweeney, a good solid defender, a decent hitter, but he doesn't rake like this, and he didn't rake like this in the minors either. So Sweeney actually was sent down briefly about a week and a half ago, and was just called back up on a quick turnaround. But there's questions about that offense on Sweeney's end. So it's wide open. So may the best man win. as far as I'm concerned. But to me, yeah, you don't want to part with either of them unless it's something really special, like you said, transformational. And one of these guys is going to be a future shortstop in Detroit. You would hope.
Yeah, Trey Sweeney. I think he'll be squeezed probably by the 2026 season. Or the conclusion of the 2026 season, he will be squeezed. Likely for one of these gentlemen, and then one of them will likely have been moved by that point in time. Yeah. We're in this situation, and they keep talking about Alex Bringman. Certain beat writers bring up Alex Bringman more than others. I'm tired of it. I don't really want Alex Bringman part of the Tigers. We don't need Alex Bringman. We don't. And I certainly don't want him moved for a Kevin McGonigal or a Bryce Rainier or one of these types of players. No way.
And bear in mind with Bregman, if I'm not mistaken, he signed a 3-year deal for $40 million a year in Boston. He has an opt-out after the season. So the only way you would bring him is like you're not opting out.
No.
You're going to be here. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Tigers made a pitch for him and he signed with Boston. Now, whether it's because Boston offered him a truckload of money, because $40 million a year, regardless of term, is tremendous contract. He's having a great season. Don't get me wrong. He's going to be an all-star. He should be. He's having a great year. But yeah, I'm not feeling that right now.
No. I think we need arms. That's where we need to fortify this thing with our pitching staff.
Starter and a bullpen arm.
100%. I'm for both. I'm for adding both. And I think that's what's going to make us the most dangerous in October. That's what's going to give us the leverage and advantages in October that we're going to want to have to surround Skubal. Yes, we bring out Reese Olson, and sure, he is one of these guys. He's a dude. He's flat out. I mean, we win a grinder of a game last night against the Guardians, 2-1 on his back, coming out of off the injured list.
Yeah, yep.
We cannot rely on Jack Flaherty. I'm glad we got him back. I certainly am. It can change, but I mean, he is a guy that, as of right now, if we were to go Skubal, Mize, Olson, and we could trade for a bona fide top 2 starter for a rental arm, you do that and you move Flaherty to the bullpen. Come
playoff time, absolutely.
That's what you do.
You'd have to.
And he could be an extra arm. And if it was next year, he's lucky he's doing this with a year left on his deal. If it was next year, you could just leave him off the roster. And basically just kind of like part ways, let him go. But and I'm glad it's not, because I hope he can figure it out. Because if he can, I mean, he's the answer there too.
Absolutely.
But as far as the lineup, I don't want to tinker around. I don't want another new everyday player. I mean, the mix is part of the deal. Now, does it need to improve? Is there room to improve? There is. However, it's been very, very good, and we've been really rock steady at times.
Yeah.
We have to look at the analytics. How many times have we had less than 2 runs and those kinds of things? And yes, we could look at positions. It's clearly third base this year, and because at shortstop when Javi's played it, the offensive has been really, really good there.
Yeah.
But third base has been a bit of a hole. We are absolutely loaded in the outfield. So are there players on the team that we could generate and make a move? You could. Again, I mean, it just, and then, you've got Eugenio Suarez, who was a former Tiger, that you could get as a true rental.
Yeah.
I think a little bit cheaper. If we want a lockdown third baseman, if we really want to address that way, I think that's the route you go. Not bringing Bregman, who's got this great relationship with Hinch and Cora, and I'm fine with that not happening. But if I want to spend some capital, and I really want to be talking about this trade deadline and about some of these players that we've just talked about for the last hour and 40 plus minutes, Drew, I would soon want to acquire the arms. And we've been seeing there's some brilliant relief pitchers out there.
Oh yeah,
there's brilliant relief pitchers that we've seen. We've seen them recently that we could be talking about here. are guys that we try to acquire. So exciting times. And, and it's exciting times with these players that we just mentioned, because some of them are going to be future Tigers and really, really good ones. We have been blessed now, once again, with this organization finding itself and being in a real good position.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself, Coach. I'm pleasantly surprised the Tigers have elevated themselves to a World Series contender. This really kind of like at the snap of a finger, because July 28th of last year, I went to a game. They lost to the Twins 5-0. Riley Green had just been hurt. Reese Olson just went down at that point, and Mize was already out. And it was like they were 4 hit against Minnesota, and I'm just like, it ain't happening this year. Was I wrong? But I don't think many people thought, oh yeah, they're going to turn around, make the playoff. Bullshit. Nobody thought that. But more impressive, they've sustained that level. I read that in a 162 game span, they a week ago they were actually 162 for their record.
162 since that time. Yeah.
I'm like, damn, that's amazing. So yeah, strike while the iron's hot, and what's beautiful is the pipeline's still full. And we talked about this before. I'll wrap this up quick here, but if Chris Ilitch is serious, all he has to do is take the money he's giving Kenta Maeda and Alex Cobb, who both are not pitching. Maeda's not on the team anymore. Cobb will be a free agent. That's $27 million to the $10 million Scooble's already getting. There's $37 million a year. You didn't spend a dime more. You simply took that money and shell gamed it over to Tarek Skubal. You keep him long term. If he wants $40 million, okie dokie, there it is. You got the money, Chris.
Let's do it.
You're not going to cost you more. Your bean companies will tell you that. So
let's be serious, man.
Yeah.
And we've got some great arms on down on the farm. You do. Mm-hmm. You do, but many of them, we talked about a lot of positional players 1 through 10. And a lot of arms 11 through 20.
Exactly.
They're a long ways away. Yeah. They're a long ways away. And Tarek Skubal doesn't grow on a tree. Yeah, that needs to happen. You
got it. So on that note, Coach, thank you. Beautiful job as always. Great job. And I'm sure we'll have a show in the coming few weeks here to talk about the deadline, because the Tigers will definitely be buyers at the deadline. To what extent, we shall see. For Coach Andy Shield, I'm Drew. Take care, everybody. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking the videos. Don't forget to check us out every week on the Roku channel for the ESEN Network, and also on YouTube, our YouTube channel, and on Facebook as well. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you next week. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Follow us on YouTube so you don't miss an episode at the Sports Peninsula Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter X. Just look for @SportsP Podcast, and follow us to keep up on sports around the great state of Michigan and beyond. You can also catch our show every Saturday night at 7 p.m. on the ESEN Network channel as part of Roku. When you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one, Sports Peninsula Podcast.